back. Cameron Beaubier is back to top form, and the rest of the field is taking notice. But the bigger story, the championship. We have a new leader, Josh Herrin. And with this miscue from Bobby Fong, oh no,
that's Bobby Fong.
Our top 4 are now separated by only 11 points. The top 3 only by 2. With the summer break on the horizon, who will sail off into the mid-season sunset with the lead? It's time to go racing. It's the 10th anniversary of the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbike Speed Fest at Monterey for our 6th round of 9 for 2024 from the famed WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. Steel Commander Superbike race number 2 is right around the corner. And boy, what a story we have had so far this season. Can you imagine being this late into the season and you have 1 point separating the top from the second place and only another point to third with Bobby Fong, who came in here leading this championship 11 back. Wow, what a season we have had. Hello everyone, I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now Jason, we talked about all this stuff. We talked about this championship, but we also talk about Cameron Beaubier, who's back in the points, but he's starting to make a big charge.
Yeah, and you don't think that everybody knows that already, that he is still in this championship even after missing around. And the ironic part for me is that Gagne's still in this, even though we know he's been fighting some issues. A couple jump starts here right off the bat yesterday with STK and Cam Peterson just creeping a little bit. MotoAmerica, as it turned out, it wouldn't hurt them. They got penalized 5 seconds each. It was Josh Herrin trying to make this move, and you saw Cam Peterson and Josh Herrin going back and forth. Eventually, Herrin would take that spot. Beaubier at this point is long gone, but this was one of the big stories yesterday. See in the background there, our points leader coming into the race was Bobby Fong. He would tumble off in turn 3. Cam Beaubier, though, Greg, if he could try to come out today with a win, he's sending a big message to these guys before they head to Mid-Ohio that, hey, I'm still around, I'm still on this championship.
Even though he's out of it with injury, 4 Superbike wins this season. How hard is it to beat Cameron Beaubier? He's had 16 starts in Steel Commander Superbike in his career, 15 podiums and 10 wins. Look at that podium percentage, yeah. 94% with a 63% win percentage. I mean, who wouldn't like that in their resume? Well, Josh Herrin takes over the championship lead, and he is down on the grid right now with the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa.
And Greg, while Josh Herrin has the championship points lead, the lap times are close. It's so tight at the top of the field, Josh. What is it that makes you the guy to get the job done?
I don't know about that. I got a great motorcycle underneath me, that's for sure. And, you know, hopefully my experience at this track pays off. Yesterday was a good race, but of course we want to be up there on the top step. So I'm gonna try to get a good start. That's for sure what I need today is a really good start. Try to latch on to Cam and see what we can do. He's riding good, but you know, I feel like we got a really good chance right now to get a win, and I just want to try my hardest and give my guys the best result that we can and have some fun.
Best of luck, Josh. And while Josh Herrin has the championship points lead, Cameron Peterson has the most wins and the most podiums of any riders in the class. Cam, what is it that's going to give you the edges in the remaining rounds for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much just up to me now. You know, the team's done such a good job with this bike throughout the year, and yeah, our bike's working incredible. So, you know, I think I just got to find a few tenths and should be good. But yeah, looking forward to the race. Hopefully get a good start, you know, no stupid mistakes like yesterday, and try go after Cam the first half of the race. And you know, our pace was pretty good in the second half. So, you know, as long as he doesn't get that big gap, I think we should be able to fight at the end there.
Best of luck, Cam. Thanks, guys.
And that really is the whole thing about the big gap. And obviously with Cameron Beaubier, he's magical here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Now this racetrack, built all the way back in 1957. It's famous around the world. It's seen a couple changes over the years, but the characteristic remains the same. It's down into turn number 2. It's got to get a good start, and then it's through 5, 6, up to the corkscrew, turns 7 and 8. Get a good run down there, and the all-important turn 11, the final corner, the slowest one on the racetrack. You got to not lose the front if you're going to win this one. Well, that's a look from the overhead view, but how about a more inside view with our Insta360 track lap, Jason?
Yeah, you got to love this. Turn 1 up over the top of this hill is going to be flat out on these Superbikes, and you're hoping that the electronics and all the package you have underneath you is going to be able to help manage that rise down into turn as they brake hard down into turn 2. Then you get into the flat corners here, turns 3 and 4, before you get over to where we're at now, turn 5. This is where we start going back up the hill on the climb to that famous corkscrew that you mentioned, Greg. You go up a gear, back a gear here as you go under the bridge into turn 6. Very tricky, very one line, very hard to see all the way through it. Here you go, the corkscrew. It goes left and then drops down a big steep hill to the right. Then you're powering underneath the WeatherTech bridge down into turn 9, rainy corner. Again, this is banked. Get on the gas early. You can hear how early Gagne gets on the throttle there into a very banked turn 10. You want to try to get out of here, use as much exit as you can, which is going to set you up for the all-important, hard-braking turn 11. Want to get in here good, but you got to get out of here just as fast because that finish line's coming up quick.
Great views from our Insta360 camera. Don't sleep on Sean Dylan Kelly. This guy has been super fast this weekend. If he gets a good start, watch out. Race in 3 minutes.
Back with you here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. You can see team personnel starting to clear out the grid area as we are getting closer to Steel Commander Superbike race. And one of the things that Cameron Peterson said there about Beaubier is that big gap. That's where the problem lies.
Just the first couple laps, his pace was able to open up a couple seconds, and from there slowly got it out to 4 seconds, and then he was able to back off the pace and just kind of not take any chances. I think you might see some guys, if they have the opportunity on that first lap, take a couple shots at Beaubier, and I think he would expect that from those guys as well. Whenever you have a step on everybody, they don't want you to get out front. So it's going to be interesting to see. That first lap is going to play a big part of this race. Sean Dylan Kelly didn't get a great start yesterday. See what he can do today if he gets a good start. And Cam Peterson, not a great start yesterday for him either. So let's see what Sean can do if he gets away like we know he can.
Sean Dylan Kelly and Cameron Peterson that you mentioned there with the starts, they were good starts, Roger. They were just too early.
Just a little too soon. And they did, they mentioned they held the light. And Cam, you're so focused sometimes on the guy beside you, and he's seen Sean go, so he thought, oh man, I'm behind, and kind of moved as well. So you gotta, you want to get a good start, but you got to wait till that light goes out.
Yeah, it was a 5-second penalty for both of those riders for the jump start yesterday in race number 1, but it is a new day. It is a whole different opportunity at it. You can see that full field there of the Superbike riders all ready to go. Everyone from the team is now cleared the way. That means that it is time for the warm-up lap. You see Jake Gagne there with that number 1 plate. He is our defending Superbike champion. Has only been able to win 1 time this season, 5 times on the podium, but always right there inside of the top 5, just consistently earning those points, and that still has him in this championship hunt.
That's why he's there. He's just not making mistakes. We know he's riding wounded right now, and but he's doing what he needs to do. He's keeping himself in that title fight, and see after this weekend and what he can do.
There's the 94, Danilo Lewis giving the thumbs up there. A little bit of an issue getting started. Loris Baz was also there at the back of the pack as these riders continue to circulate. It's time to get ready for racing, so we're going to go back over to Greg and Jason.
Steel Commander Superbike coverage is brought to you by Steel Commander Corps, a leading steel building manufacturer offering expertise, innovation, and a dedication to quality. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Warm-up lap, Steel Commander Superbike race number 2 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Jason Pridmore, the starting grid, of course, has the way they qualified. It's Cameron Beaubier. That was a brand new track record. Sean Dylan Kelly broke the track record as well. Cameron Peterson in 3rd.
Yeah, then we have Heron, Bobby Fong, and Posh coming from row number 2. Great qualifying for Brandon Posh. JD Beach, Gagne, and Baz with Chavi Flores, Ashton Yates, and Bryce Prince back there on row number 4. Then we have Ezra Beaubier, Benjamin Smith, and Danilo Lewis. Nolan Lampkin, Andrew Lee, and Dion Campbell. Richard Kerr, Flinders, Arango, Giannato, Sierra, and Bobby Davis will round out row number 8, and then we have Manny Segura back there. So, real quickly, Greg, we heard Josh Herrin say he's got to get a good start, go off with Cameron Beaubier. You look down that screen that you're looking at right now, see how uphill that is. It makes it a little harder sometimes to get these bikes off the line. The good news is, as you can see there, Josh Herrin has Cameron Beaubier directly in front of him. So Cam gets good starts. Herrin knows that. You learn that as you go. So Herrin's got to get right onto the back of the 6, right from the lights going out.
20 laps scheduled for Steel Commander Superbike race number 2. Lights are off and we're away. And it looked like a clean start this time from the front row, as Cameron Beaubier leads him down into turn number 2. Is anybody going to try to make a bid as Herrin tries to go up the inside? No, it's going to be Cameron Peterson who slots himself into second place, and Bobby Fong there in 4th.
Yep, STK follows right in behind the 50 of Bobby Fong. So right now, you know that Cam Peterson's got pace. Herrin's not going to be worrying too much right now. Cam Peterson's right where he wants to be. He wants to latch onto the back of the 6, put some pressure on him, but more importantly, not let him get away. So then halfway through this race, you heard Cam Peterson say he feels like he's got some really good race pace at the end. So if they can kind of not let this BMW run away from them early, then there might be a chance there late in the race for them to do something with him.
And if you look at the margin of victory and the amount of laps we had yesterday, it was just about 0.3 of a second, Jason, per lap. That was going on with Cameron Beaubier over the rest of the field.
Yeah, and you can see here, Beaubier makes a small mistake at the top of the corkscrew in the sense that he was just a little bit wide as they started coming down the hill, and just a tiny bit. So right now, when you're on brand new tires, you kind of want to make hay while the sun is shining, literally here at Laguna Seca. As you can see, these guys are all trying their best to put the fastest laps they can down. STK has made his way through on that 50. As you see Baz going underneath the second Tyler's bike of JD Beach. Baz moves over to defend that position, but Sean Dillon Kelly goes through on Bobby Fong. You saw Gagne trying to do the exact same thing. Herrin now makes a big bid on Cam Peterson. So this is Herrin's plan as well. He does not want to let Beaubier get away, and you see somebody's down there in the background. Can't tell exactly who that is, but it's going to be one of our front guys, because you can see the gap. It is 96 of Brandon Posh, and we have not seen him do that hardly at all this year. So walking a little bit gingerly.
The Vision Wheel and 4X-Star Suzuki rider down after a really good qualifying here, but now you can see Josh Herrin really pushing hard on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati Panigale V4R. Initially, when he made the pass on Cameron Peterson, there was about half that gap. So right now, Josh Herrin is on an absolute tear to close the gap to Cameron Beaubier. Beaubier has no idea what's going on behind him.
Well, he'll know. You know, he's going to see it, because yesterday, as SDK now makes a great pass on Cam Peterson up into the corkscrew. So now we got BMW first and third. And you got to remember, yesterday, SDK, even though he jumped the start, he got a bad start on top of it. He was 7th or 6th down into turn 2. His race was basically a lonely one of trying to come back up through people, and he had some pace though. So now SDK on that 40 jumps himself into 3rd. But Cam Beaubier is going to know that he's not getting away. Let's see what the time is. 23.7. I believe yesterday it was around 23.9 was the opening lap. So you can see Herrin's done a much better job, as has SDK, as has Cam Peterson, of not letting the number 6 of Cameron Beaubier get away so quickly. So when you start to put it together, Beaubier is going to come through on the next lap. See +0 on his board again, and +0 on his board again maybe for the next 2 or 3 laps. That will definitely change the way this race starts off differently than it did yesterday.
Fastest lap yesterday at 23.410 for Cameron Beaubier out front on the back of a 1.1 second margin of victory on a lap that he slowed down. Oh, by the way, betting is now available for MotoAmerica fans. Go to nxtbets.com/playma. nxtbets.com/playma. For more information, visit motoamerica.com.
Greg, you can just see the importance that it was for Herrin to get by Cam Peterson early. Both Cam Peterson and STK were able to get through, and you can see Peterson's just dropped back ever so slightly. So when you start to see what Herrin's doing, he had a plan today, as did the rest of them, not to let this guy get away. Hannah.
For Cameron Beaubier, when I talked to him this morning, the tire decision was still up in the air after trying that R8 little harder compound tire there as Josh Herron's trying to get around Beaubier. He said the R7 is probably the one that he's going to go with, and he did decide to do that ultimately for the race. But after such a difficult mid-season here for Cameron Beaubier, as Josh Herron goes up the inside for the lead, but he couldn't make it stick. Cam Beaubier back out front. Cam said it just feels good to be back in the race weekend routine and find a good flow.
And that's what Josh Herron was trying to do, actually, is disrupt the flow, and just a little bit of a mistake. But Herron right now is looking very aggressive and very racy right now, as he's going to try to close that gap again. But Jason, I thought the strategy for Josh Herron pretty good, because I think Herron thinks he's got pace to pass Beaubier and try to lead this race and possibly put some distance between himself and the 6.
The thing I like about Herron is he takes shots, and he took a shot down into a turn 11, and you can see that he wanted to take another shot into turn 2. There was just no way he was going to get that bike slowed down. The danger part of that is that he also allowed STK to get through. Now, he was able to get right back past, which is going to be to his benefit here. I think STK's got some good speed, though, as well. You can see he's just going to dive down to the apex. He knew he couldn't make it, and he just lets the bike run out a little bit. Does a really nice job of squaring up turn 2. Puts himself back to the inside of STK going into 3, but here it is again. This time he's got the apex speed controlled a lot easier that time for Herron, and he will lead this lap coming across the line. And now we've got a fight, Greg. 4 guys, 3 different brands up in the front, and they've been able to keep the number 6 at bay, and now even control the pace that number 6 is going to be able to roll. Now, just a tick off of them in 5th, Bobby Fong. You see him back there. He usually comes good towards the end of these races, and I like the fact that we see the number 1 of Gagne. Gagne's just got to get through today, and then we know he's getting a procedure done during this break that we're going to have, so that he can come back and fight hard for these last 3 races.
Talk about the number 1 plate and his right wrist issues and his hand falling asleep. So he's looking forward to getting that handled. But out front, Josh Herron with a nice pass. Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. And that Tytler Cycles BMW of Cameron Beaubier. And just behind him, EasyHealthPlans.com, Top Pro Racing's Sean Dillon Kelly out of Florida, trying to hold on to that gap. And then Cameron Peterson on the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha. Hannah?
You know, Greg, it's interesting you say Sean Dillon Kelly is out of Florida, because the entire rest of this top 5, 6 here is all from California. So this is their home track, home field advantage, if you will. For Sean Dillon Kelly, he's also a rookie on the BMW, so he has no data at this track on this motorcycle either. But he did tell me they got off to the best start they've had all season, the best Friday. And it's definitely given him some confidence and helps him keep the momentum rolling.
Man, Cam Peterson had a thought there, didn't he?
He certainly did,
He had
yeah.
a thought, and you can see it cost him some time, and he's now fallen back into the clutches just a little bit of Bobby Fong, who comes across that lap. Bobby Fong does it at 24.3. He was the fastest of the 6 riders that we have at the front. Cam P runs a little bit wide again in turn 2. Jake Gagne also 24.2, so he was actually the quickest in the top 6. So we've got a real fight at the front here. That little mistake that Cam made by trying to go up underneath SDK and not quite committing enough to that pass is what has opened up that gap between 3rd and 4th. So they're going to have to fight again to try to get themselves back up there.
What a job the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team has done to improve the motorcycle from Saturday to Sunday. And when I talked to Josh Herron's crew chief, we talked about the changes made, and he just said it's just a bunch of little things. It's electronics, it's chassis, it's the whole deal.
Cam P's got a problem.
Yeah, it looks like Cameron Peterson's starting to fade backwards as Bobby Fong and his teammate get around him. So the 45 of Cameron Peterson has got something on board going on right now.
Greg, I'll tell you something. You know, we heard Cam talk about arm pump at the Ridge at the last round. And when he went into turn 11 just now, it looked like it took everything to him to get that bike slowed down. So one of 2 things. I think it might be a little bit early for arm pump. So it's either he's having a little bit of a braking issue, or in fact that right wrist or that right forearm has pumped up and he's just suffering a little bit from that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But you can see now, just with that little bit of an error, that gap has just let these 3 get away. So it's going to be hard work now for Bobby Fong and Gagne to try to close this gap back down to these top 3.
Boy, so impressed with Sean Dillon Kelly and the ride he's having right now as the Steel Commander Superbike rookie.
The other thing I'm looking at is lap times. When you start to look at the lap times, they're almost a half a second a lap slower, Greg, than their best. Normally, we would see a 2 to 3/10 gap, and I know 2/10 doesn't seem like a much that they're off, but it's just kind of showing how Herrin right now is controlling the pace of this race. He is controlling the pace because he's very, very difficult to pass, and B, he's just quick enough to where Cam can't get up alongside of him anywhere to try to make that pass anyways. So a pass into the brakes right now for Cam Beaubier would have to come from a long way back.
Yeah, but also, Jason, we talk about these riders riding around each other and understanding their tendencies. If you're Cameron Beaubier, you understand that if you're going to take a shot at Josh Herrin, he's immediately going to fire back on you. He's not a rider that wants to ride in second place. And so if you're Cameron Beaubier and you're thinking, listen, I know I don't have the pace to go out and get another 5-second gap on him, maybe it's just the smart thing to do right now just to hang back and to put pressure on Herrin to see if he cracks. The problem is that when Josh Herrin is in this situation, no matter what class he's in, it's a rare occasion where we've ever seen him make a mistake, and it's going to allow the riders back on through. But it's so close right now. The one who's learning the most definitely is Sean Dylan Kelly.
I was just going to say the same thing. The best thing that can happen, you have two Superbike champions directly in front of you, and if you're the number 40, Sean Dylan Kelly, he's loving this right now, watching these two go at it. I also believe that this will set a little bit of calmness in Cam Beaubier. He's not going to be in a big rush because he knows that Herrin will fire right back. And so I think that when you look at what is happening here and the dynamics of what's going on, as we are hearing that Cam Peterson does in fact have an issue. He's dropped all the way back to 9th place, Greg, as you can see him coming down the front straightaway. And I don't know if he's, I can't tell what that is. Maybe there's an adjuster on the left-hand side of the bike and it's not working, or maybe it's brake fade, not really sure. But Beaubier here is going to apply pressure and try to pressure Herrin into making a mistake. But he's also going to have a little bit of calmness, knowing that that he can follow Herrin and make a plan for later on.
It's also nice to see the respect out of these two riders. I mean, Cameron Beaubier able to ride that close to Josh Herrin because he understands what kind of rider he is and doesn't expect Herrin to ever make a mistake. This is where Sean Dylan Kelly is starting to lose just a little bit. Like, it's just a couple of little places on the racetrack. Driving onto the front straightaway is one of them. You can see the gap, and then SDK is able to close it back up under the brakes. And we can't talk enough about the resurgence of Sean Dylan Kelly's confidence. Getting hooked up with his crew chief, getting on a Superbike, getting very little testing, and keeping, the positivity of the team and understanding the data and getting to work. And I mentioned at the top of the show as heartbreak for the 45 into the pits for the Attack Performance Progressive Yamaha team on such a good weekend in front of so many friends and family. Cam Peterson.
That's such a bummer right there, especially, again, this championship's just wide open right now between so many riders. So, it's a hard thing to see. So when you look at what's going on for SDK, Greg, you're talking about that top pro team. They've done such a good job, but they set the bar so high so early. SDK came right out in Atlanta and qualifies second. He eventually would end up getting on the podium at Barber. He put in such a good couple of races, a few races at the start of the season. Then he has a couple struggles. He struggled a little bit at Brainerd. He struggles a little bit at the Ridge. But now they've come back to Laguna Seca, regrouped, and you can see what he's done. Bobby Fong here, too, as we see a big crash. This is going to be down, looks like turn 6. That's Bryce Prince. I believe it's Bryce Prince. No, it's Deion Campbell. Sorry. Deion Campbell
out of 13th place.
On a BPR. Bryce Prince Racing R1. And we've enjoyed having Deion Campbell back in the paddock this year. And he's been doing really good in Stock 1000 and getting better each round. So glad to see he's up and okay. Back to the front here.
So Cameron Beaubier just going to work, learning where that Ducati is different from the BMW.
Yeah, it's really easy to do that down in turn 6. There's a big dip there, and sometimes you can actually lose a little bit of ground clearance. You can just pick up that bike and send you off. That bike didn't do any flipping, so that's good. Bobby Fong, fastest lap. That last lap amongst your 4 leaders, 24-1. So he gained a couple of tenths back. So Bobby Fong right now is doing everything he can. And man, it is really nice to see Jake Gagne still in the picture.
It definitely is, yeah.
He's 2.5 seconds back, is the number 1 of Jake Gagne. And Greg, the fact that, like I said earlier, he's 1 point out of this championship, and we have not seen him really do much in the last 3 rounds. And he is still right in this thing.
And talking about the number 1 who's back in 5th place, who sits just 1 point back from Josh Herrin in this championship, Jason. When we were at Brainerd in the Ridge, he said it's much more physically demanding for what's going on with his right hand than here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. There's so many left corners that he said it's actually not as bad as he thought it would be. He's not 100%, obviously. We know that he's going to have a procedure on Tuesday. But for Jake Gagne, this is about the best scenario. When I talked to the team at the beginning of the weekend, they said if we can walk away with 5th place and 6th place finishes, we feel like we can still be in this championship by the time we get to New Jersey in late September.
Good run from Loris Baz as well. He has struggled here this weekend. You made comment yesterday that right out on Friday mornings, we've seen Loris pretty much up to speed right away, and he struggled here at Laguna on Friday morning, and that they've just been a little bit of a step behind. And it looks like Baz is a little bit quicker today than he has been. He's about 4.9 seconds off the leader. He's only 2.1 seconds behind Gagne. Then we're going to go a little bit further back. We're going to find Xavi Flores. Of course, we saw Brandon Posh, his teammate, tip off early in this race. So Xavi fighting the kind of the lonely battle now on that Suzuki. He's got JD Beach just behind him, and JD running back there in 8th.
Xavi Flores still filling in for the injured Richie Escalante on the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team. I have not gotten any word as to the possibility of Richie Escalante returning to competition, but Xavi Flores has done an outstanding job of filling in for Escalante. Back up front we go to Josh Herron, and the gap remains the same, about a 10th of a second. Sean Dylan Kelly now with a much better drive, but this is the danger guy right now. Wrench Motorcycles, Bobby Fong. He had the lead in this championship when it started, and Bobby Fong, Jason, just goes 1:23.960, his fastest lap of the race. And he claws back about half a second or more on the riders in front of him.
And the guy that's going to know that is SDK, because if you look at SDK's board, it was probably at +2 at one point. Now it's going to almost get down to +1 because Fong is moving forward. What do you know, Hannah?
Well, after the crash yesterday, the bike took a big one, and this morning an electronic sensor on the throttle was acting up, so they didn't get to try what they had planned, but Bobby doesn't have the front end feel that he was looking for. They went back to the same chassis as yesterday, so going into the race, they don't really know what to expect at all.
Yeah, and really, Hannah, in talking to Robbie Peterson about that exact topic, it's not only this weekend, Jason. They've been struggling with Bobby and his front end feel for the last couple of races, so they're looking for that solution, and they need every single lap, including in practice. But this morning with fog and the situation, they didn't get it. But whatever's going on with Bobby Fong, they're starting to really figure it out. The question is, if Bobby gets to this lead group, which we don't have a doubt that he can do it, does he have enough tire underneath him to fight? It's one thing to go fast, Jay. It's another thing to have a motorcycle to actually be able to pass, as these three have just been follow the leader for the last several laps.
Well, they better start to think about something, because he does have pace as he goes 24.2 to the leader's 24.5. It's another 3/10 that Bobby Fong has taken out of this group. Now, one thing I will note is that the last time they went into turn 11, I saw STK have a little bit of a peek, almost like a little bit of a test to see if he thinks he can maybe make it through on Cameron Beaubier as they went down into turn 11. So we're going to keep an eye on that 40, because like I said, he knows that there's somebody coming up from behind right now, and if STK feels like he's got any pace at all, he's going to want to start to get past the two in front of him and try to make something happen here.
And SDK's on that harder compound Dunlop front tire. That might prove dividends. Also want to just update you, I got word that Richie Escalante is set to return the Steel Commander Superbike on the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team as SDK goes up the inside. Is it going to stick? Wow. Nice pass from Sean Dylan Kelly. Richie Escalante set to return at Mid-Ohio, Jason.
Yeah, like I said, when you see on your pit board that somebody's actually catching you, it will definitely put the hurry up in you. And if he thinks that this pace at 24.5 is a little bit too slow, he wants to try to get forward. He wants this podium. And don't be surprised if you see SDK do that exact same thing, because look who has actually joined the party now. Just with that little bit of interaction at the top of the corkscrew, it's allowed Bobby Fong. In the while here, Bobby Fong's board's going to continue to go up. He is seeing that he's pulling away as this great pass as SDK slots right in between. Only a bike width apart between Herron and Beaubier. Sean Dylan Kelly finds that pass. Bobby Fong's board's going to continue to tell him that he's pulling away from Gagne. He's got no threat, no stress, anything from behind, and he can race forward right now, can the 50. So let's see if SDK tries this exact same pass. I think he's going to have a go, Greg, up at the corkscrew if he gets a good run out of 6. Also note, look how tight Herron comes out of this turn. Last lap, he did the same thing and gets a little better run this time, but I'm concerned about this run out of here.
So Sean Dillon Kelly on the EasyHealthPlans.com, Top Pro Racing BMW. Feels like he's got some pace in him, and maybe he wants to take over this lead and try to make a break from the rest of the riders, as he knows Bobby Fong's on the way.
Herrin did a good job that time of controlling his speed out of 6, and SDK just had no chance of doing anything with him there. So, and I think that the strengths, you'll see the strengths of the bikes in front. Bobby does a really nice job of kind of holding on all the way down the hill. He closes up on these guys, but from about here to about turn 6, Bobby struggles to stay up with him. You can see he closes right up onto the back. The Yamaha doesn't look like it quite has the acceleration out of turn 11, and he's able to maneuver all the way down from the top of the corkscrew. He can close back in on this group.
Cameron Beaubier taking a little wider line down at the bottom of turn number 2. Now Sean Dillon Kelly looking for an opportunity. Where does he think he could pass Josh Herrin if he wants to? We know these riders are so close, and Herrin's so good on the brakes as they peel it off into turn number 5. Now we're going to start our run up the hill towards the corkscrew. This is the first bit of it. This is a rider lap traffic right around turn number 6. There he is. He got through that corner. Up the hill they go.
Yeah, last couple laps, Herrin's done a good job of getting up out of that turn 6 area, so it's going to make it pretty hard for SDK. Now this is where Bobby Fong shines. You can see how much he's closed up onto the back of them as he goes up into the corkscrew. He's tremendous up at the top of the hill, and then he's good all the way down to the bottom. He's going to want to spring in a surprise attack on Bobby. You see, when Cameron's in front there, if he can't make a pass on SDK, if he follows him in there, it makes him susceptible to a Bobby Fong pass down into turn 11. L5, P3. See, on the Tytler cycles, it doesn't say who's behind you, but Cameron had a shot at SDK as they came up over the top of turn 1 just to have the door slammed on him.
So a better run for Bobby Fong. The gap not as big as it was last time by, but for Bobby Fong, he's going to have to do it all on the brakes.
Well, the Yamaha produces lap times a little bit different. It rolls through the corners a little bit better. A lot of times he's able to open up entries a little bit more and let the bike go. Now you can see SDK is just starting to lose a little bit of grip maybe. Cam Bobby has a shot. He's going to take a shot at him down here into turn number 5. Makes that pass. So that might be the first little thing that we've seen from SDK where he doesn't quite have the edge grip to get off the turn. And he wasn't able to get off of turn 4 with Herrin. Beaubier saw that, made a quick pass. Now it's going to be his turn to come back and take a shot at Herrin again.
Down the corkscrew they go, and now Cameron Beaubier with some urgency. Doesn't want to let that gap get any larger if he's got a shot at winning again. And here comes Bobby Fong. He's going to go try up the inside. No, he doesn't.
Not quite close enough there, but I don't think there's too much urgency. We got 5 to go. And the pace right now is at a high 24, 24.7, 24.8.
Ooh!
I still feel like Cam's got some tire underneath him.
Dude, Sean Dillon Kelly just lost the front or hit a big bump in the middle of turn number 11 and lost some time. Good, skill set to control that bike and not go down.
Yeah, Herrin, you see how tight he is? He almost didn't have his body in the position that I felt like he wanted it to get in there into turn 2. So I think that Herrin right now, Greg, he's holding on. I really do. I think he's just trying to do everything he can to block these guys. That last lap by, a 24.2, so they dropped almost half second. Those 24.7s and 24.8s concerned me just now when I saw them. And, again, Herrin's going in extremely tight, just trying to keep them behind. He's trying to use the power of the Ducati to drive out of these corners, and then he's just going into each one of these corners extremely tight. So Cam's still able to roll through the middle of these corners and do something. As you can see, they're now starting to pull away just a little bit from SDK.
It's a big ask, though, for Herrin to be able to pull this off for another 3.5 laps. These defensive lines.
He can do it, though. I've seen him do this stuff.
It's a big ask, though.
It's a matter of, with Josh, he's got so much bike handling skills and so much control over what he's doing. This is kind of his plan. You heard him say, I want to get on the back of Cam early, and I want to try to do something where I don't let him get away. And he's controlling this. The reason why Beaubier isn't able to pull out of turn 11 there and try to make a pass is because he knows Herrin goes in there so deep. But watch when they get down here into turn 2. you'll see Herrin, he just kind of blocks this pass that there's no way you're going to be able to go by him. You can see he just runs it straight down to the inside curbing, and if he controls the apex speed at the beginning of turn 2, makes it real hard for people to go by.
So Sean Dillon Kelly was right in the mix. That softer compound Dunlop that he's running might just be that 1/2 tenth of a second that he's missing in some of this lap as these two continue that gap that was created about 2.5 laps ago. Bobby Fong still trying as hard as he can, but man.
But that might be just something that you said earlier. You know, he had to come from a long way back, and how much tire might he have when he gets there? And again, they produce their speed a little bit different. The bikes in front of Bobby produce their speed a little bit different than what Bobby does. So Bovier's close this time as they come up into the corkscrew.
Herrin going to take that defensive line once again. Tighter down into the blind corkscrew. Down to the 5.5 story drop, flick it back left and go down 11 stories.
And STK is revived again. You know, he's like, he can see that what's going on with the pace. And the second that Beaubier jumps on Herrin, STK is going to be looking for that same opening as Cam's got a little bit of a run. But again, you can tell he gets back into the back of Herrin real early because he knows how well Josh goes in there. It's going to be a big commitment for him to just let off the lever and try to get up alongside Herrin like Herrin did to him earlier.
Over the crest of turn number 1, down into 2. Beaubier trying to look up the inside, but Herrin feels it. He feels it, lets the lever off. Beaubier trying to square it up to try to get a drive. Not sure turn 3 is the spot to do it.
Tight again into 3. So like what Herrin's doing right now, for those of you watching at home, is very, very difficult to do. He's probably fighting a little bit of rear grip, and on top of fighting rear grip, he knows he's got a guy behind who's on a very fast motorcycle also, and he's got to do everything he can to just continue to close off the entries, and that's what he did there. He's run wide here a little bit, Greg.
Oh!
Yeah, he's run wide. That's why he's cut it back across. He knew he was out wide, and he was just able to just keep turning the bike and close off what Cam was trying to do there.
Yeah, because Beaubier was all set in his mind to drive up that hill and then saw Herrin with not the same speed. Yep. And that created this couple bike length gap.
And now he's got to try to do it for 1.5 more laps. And it's literally like doing push-ups every time because you're just braking as absolute late as you can. You're basically sacrificing all your corner speed in order to just try to square up a corner and then use what the power of the Ducati is giving him on the exits.
What a race we've seen from these top 4. Josh Herrin, though, has been controlling the pace and dictating what everybody else is doing. Here comes the white flag, so it's out. 1 lap to go. And now for Cameron Beaubier. When does he attack? If he has room. Herrin has put on such a masterful performance. Look how tight Herrin is. There is absolutely no room to pass him up the inside. What a move into turn 2 by Josh Herrin.
And see, he goes tight into here. Now, what Herrin's got to do is control the apex speed of 4. After he gets through turn 4, which is coming up now, he's got to control this. It's got to be picture perfect, and he's going to move over to the left. And he's going to make it very, very difficult for Cam. You can see him over to the left. That's what he's got to do, and then brake as deep as he can. He really has to do this for about 1 more corner. If he can do the same thing by the time they get down to turn 10, I don't think that they can get by him going into 11. Very impressive what he's done here.
Herrin talked pre-race about his experience here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It's paying off into the corkscrew. He's going to go to the left and back to the right. Beaubier trying to go around the outside, maybe make a move to square it off and try to get a run on him down the hill. But look how hard Herrin is on the gas. All the while, SDK is there in case this ends up in tears between the top 2. But Herrin gets a really good drive down the hill. Boy, the opportunities to pass are running out. Beaubier's got to get a good run on him. Herrin with another good drive to the final corner of the racetrack. Here they go into turn 11. As tight as you like it, SDK makes a move for second place, but now foils the plans of Cameron Beaubier. And here comes Josh Herrin in a master class of racing at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. What a win for him and his Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team.
JD Beach has got by Xavi Flores. This is the battle for 7th. As you see Xavi now trying to go back up underneath, he makes that pass. Let's see if he can get him on the run to the line.
Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, Xavi Flores, Tytler Cycles BMW, and Flores will get 7th place. With Gagne holding on to 5th. That's so important in the championship.
Honestly, that's probably one of the most impressive races I've ever seen. I mean, Greg, you could argue that the fastest guy didn't win that race, you know, but the smartest guy in this case, Herrin knew what he had underneath him. He had a plan. and he just did a remarkable job. That was very, very impressive.
Josh Herrin was leading this championship by 1 single point, and he does not care. He is out for race wins, and here it is, Jay, the last one.
And how about SDK taking a shot? Bobby's just sitting there waiting to pick up the pieces. But yeah, I mean, and it's great to see the 40 take a shot. Beaubier is going to get second. You know, Josh Herrin knows what a threat Cameron Beaubier is in this championship. And at the 5 points he lost to Cam yesterday, he made him right back up today. And that's what this title fight's going to look like all the way down as we get to these next 3 rounds that I can hardly wait to get to.
What a performance from Josh Herrin. I mean, Cameron Beaubier, it was like Herrin was in Beaubier's mind going, oh, I know you're going to try it here, so I'll block you here. I know you're going to try it there, I'll block you there. As Herrin heads off to grab the Stars and Stripes. Here's a look at the race pace. 1:23.798 on lap number 2, but Herrin controlling it in that low to mid 24 range.
I mean, the lap times, Greg, were all over the place. You know, they were at 24.7, 24.8 with about 6 to go. Then all of a sudden he dropped him back into 24.2, and then they ultimately ended up at 24.6 there at the end.
Can't wait to hear what Herrin has to say. We'll find out after this.
Continuing here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, you watch our race winner here in Steel Commander Superbike, Josh Herrin, with the American flag making his way towards the podium to celebrate. Let's take a look at that final lap, Roger.
Yeah, and Josh just got aggressive early, but you can see going into this last lap here, Cam Beaubier is trying to find a spot where he can pass, and Josh is being defensive. You see Josh will go toward the inside, so Cam sets up on the outside, trying to get a good run. If you can get a good run through 3, you can kind of carry your momentum through 4, and then you're trying to get a good drive to put yourself up on the inside down into 5. But Josh Herrin blocks, and that's what you have to do. And you see Beaubier again setting up wide. He's seen the previous lap, Josh made a little mistake outside of top 5 out of 5, but you know, Josh just never gave him an opportunity. And every time Cam got a run, Josh knew where it was coming. He would come to the left side and block at that point and make him go the long way around, and that's twice as hard. From here, there's only a couple places left for Beaubier to try to pass. It's either put yourself on the right side going down into turn 10, but he's not there. So now he's going to go through 10. You would think he would want to go on the inside here, but he knows Herrin's going to block, so he sets up really wide to try to get a run out of there. But then he has Sean Dillon Kelly, him open the door up, and so Sean came in and took it like you would, and you know, both those guys did everything could, but Josh Herrin, man, just fought.
And these are now live pictures. What a tremendous lap after you think about that being the end of a 20-lap race and just how much was still left, and not only the bikes but in the riders as well.
Yeah, and it's just the smartness of Josh and able to know where he was weak and where Cam was strong, and not letting him ever have the opportunity to even put a wheel in there.
Certainly a big celebration. Well earned for Josh Herrin, his 3rd win of the season. 7 podium finishes so far now with 3 rounds remaining. Mid-Ohio will be next up, Circuit of the Americas after that, and then championship will wrap up things at the end of September down in New Jersey. So going into a long break for Josh Herrin. We heard from Loris Baz earlier that team has some testing planned during this long break, so certainly some more strength to come.
And Cam Beaubier just didn't have the pace that he had yesterday. Yesterday he was able to be into the 23s. Today he was quite a bit off, whether it was set up or the tire didn't feel the same as it did yesterday, and that was the big difference.
For Josh getting to celebrate with his family, tremendous moments here. Let's go ahead and send it back over to Hannah, Greg, and Jason.
Steel Commander Superbike coverage is brought to you by Steel Commander Corps, a leading steel building manufacturer offering expertise, innovation, and a dedication to quality. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Celebration as Josh Herrin rolls into winner's circle on his Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. And this is one to mark down in the video on demand on Live Plus as SDK. up to tap on the Nicky Hayden, the 69. Guy's a legend. All right, let's take a look at these results, because 0.244 of a second is the margin of victory from Herrin to Cameron Beaubier, and that was definitely not the story of this race. The story of this race is one of the smartest racecrafts we have seen, and this is something that race fans are going to look at for a long time. STK in third, Bobby Fong, Jake Gagne in fifth, but Hannah's down in victory lane.
Congratulations being exchanged between Josh Herrin and Geraldo Faraci. Josh, incredible performance. You got out front early. You set the pace all race long. How are you able to maintain that pace and also protect your position for the win?
Ooh, must have been the power of that V4 on, huh, Greg White? It was a good race, man. It was a fun battle with Cam. I just had to throw it in there at the beginning. I had to make a race. There's too many good fans out here to not put on a show, and I wasn't feeling super confident at the beginning. Tyler was moving around a lot. But, man, my Dunlop was great at the end. Just got to thank my entire Warhorse, HSBK Racing, Ducati team. Thank you to August X, Parts Unlimited, Motul, Cato, everybody that's involved in this, the entire De Naples family, Bobby Scheck, my wife Rachel, my son Griffin, my entire family, man. This has been a long fight, lots of years. And, man, I'm just happy to be able to keep this V4R up here on not a horsepower track. And, man, just I'm having fun. So thank you to everybody for the support, and shout out to the Dreyer family. Avery and his sister lost their dad on the way to a race this weekend, and I didn't get to say anything yesterday, and just happy we were able to get a win today and say something for them. So yeah, looking forward to next race.
Couple weeks off here, Josh. How does this affect the mindset going into the summer break?
Just gonna go enjoy some time with my son and my wife. It's yeah, I need to put in a little bit of work, so I'm starting to get a little tired at the end of these races. And yeah, just be ready for the next round and just try to keep having fun. That's the name of this game, is having fun. I got a family at the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team, and I hope with the announcement of the new 5-year agreement with Ducati that we can continue and hopefully get these guys a championship.
Congrats, Josh.
He's quoting you. He's quoting you.
I don't think so.
I think he's quoting you.
Horsepower on a non-horsepower track's irrelevant. Hannah?
He did great.
Second place today for Cameron Beaubier. 2 podiums on the weekend. Are you feeling like this has been a good comeback for you after such a difficult midseason?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, coming in, if you told me I was going to walk out of here with the first and second, I would have signed up. So, yeah, today I didn't quite have the pace I did yesterday. It seemed like at the beginning, had a couple, slides, couple moments there at the beginning, and I just settled down, and Josh came past me, and I latched on, and was going to try to do something like later with him to see where I was better and see where he was better. And then Sean came past, and yeah, it was kind of got me out of my rhythm a little bit. And then when I went to charge, I couldn't pass Josh anywhere. He was so good on the brakes today. So hats off to this guy. He's been riding incredible all year, and especially this weekend. So and Sean as well. But massive thanks to the Teitlers crew, BMW, Bell, Alpine Stars, and Man Above for keeping us safe out here. All my family and friends for coming out. And yeah, I'll see you next round.
And now Cam's got a few weeks to rest that right heel before we head into the remaining rounds.
And that, of course, is going to be crucial, all that recovery, as we have this summer break, about 4 weeks, as we head off to Mid-Ohio, which is a very physically demanding racetrack, as Jason Pridmore is well aware of that. Let's get back down to Hannah with third place.
Third place today to Sean Dillon Kelly. And Sean, you hung in there with the likes of these Superbike champions out in front of you during your rookie season on a new motorcycle at a track you have no data at. Tell me how that feels.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to dedicate this podium to the whole Dreyer family. Stay strong, both Avery and Ella. You guys are really, really strong. Obviously, Dad will be missed, but he'll always be there. So want to dedicate this to the whole Dreyer family and everyone who's close. But anyways, what an amazing race. I'm so pumped to be on the podium today here at Laguna, first year in Superbike, and it's honestly a dream come true. It was a super tough race up front, but I'm happy that I was able to maintain with these guys. I tried a few passes. I tried to lead the race at one point, but I was learning a lot behind these two front runners. So I know the feeling that I'm looking for, but yeah, just huge thank you to the whole Top Pro Racing team. Thank you to my whole crew, my guys. They did an amazing job to put a bike under me that's ready to win. Thank you to Palm Beach Police and Fire Foundation. Thank you to OnlyFans for supporting me. Thank you to my family. You guys are here. I'm so happy, and thank you to everyone for the love.
Thanks, John. Congrats, guys.
It's a great race, huge learning experience. Max Biaggi and Wayne Rainey having a good time watching an incredible Steel Commander Superbike race. Our coverage continues in a moment.
Continuing here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, you see Max Biaggi there going to hand out the hardware to our Steel Commander Superbike category up there on the podium. Look at all the fans that also made their way over there to witness these behind the scenes moments, the all access pass that every single ticket gets you to be able to go, and not only the autograph session that we had this afternoon, but also these cool moments here to celebrate as well.
Yeah, these cool moments, and then also, I mean, every time I don't think there could be any more legends show up, and the next day there's 3 or 4 more legends. It's just awesome to see a guy like Max Biaggi here watching MotoAmerica.
Heard a couple of the riders reference Aaron Dreyer and the sad, untimely passing over this past week, and certainly we continue to send all of our thoughts and our supports to Avery and Ella, as well as their brothers Brady and Colton, as they're navigating this very difficult time back at home. A couple GoFundMes have been set up. You can get on all the social media channels and easily find those if you just search around in the MotoAmerica paddock. Everyone sharing that, just trying to help the 4 kids. Avery just turning 18 just 2 weeks ago, and just trying to help everybody through this difficult time.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's a really tough situation, and especially for those kids. You know, they're so young. You can only imagine. You try to put yourself in their shoes to be that young and go through that. Can't imagine, but I know we're all thinking about the Dreyer family and praying for them and wishing them the best.
The celebration continuing here as Max now handing that trophy over to Josh Herrin, the 3rd win of the season for him. 7 podiums. He said over the next few weeks he needs to work on his fitness a little bit, just the length of these races. It gets a little long here at the end of the weekend, but also just taking the time to enjoy life.
That's the thing. I mean, you've been training so hard and you're on the go. We've had a lot of races back to back. At this point in the season, a lot of these riders, and the travel as well, they're drained. He spends a lot of time away from his son, and that's hard. And that's hard for all the riders. And they need to take his time to kind of recharge and reset those batteries, and then come back and finish out toward the end of the season. So, you know, you get to this point of the year, and these riders training, and it's so hard, and it's stressful. It really is stressful for these riders. You have to think about Josh. He's putting on a title charge and has to be perfect every single weekend, and it's mentally draining as well.
Josh Herrin now directing the photo shoot down in the podium area. You see Sean Dillon Kelly there, that podium result for him in this move up to the Superbike category. 3 podiums on the year for him, but what he said is he knows the feel that he's looking for. Do you think that means he doesn't quite have it yet?
That's exactly what it means. There's a little bit of something that he's missing, I think, to be able to make those passes on a Josh Herrin. But man, what a great day for Sean to be able to go to school behind those 2 guys, and you know, also see where they're missing on corner entry and corner exit. We talk about electronics a lot, and Sean Dillon Kelly was able to get behind those 2 guys and get behind Beaubier and see maybe what their bike is doing a little bit different compared to his, where they can improve.
No, that's a great point. Both of them being BMWs. With continuing coverage here, going to send it back over to Greg and Jason.
Race 2 unfolded like this.
Yeah, you can see early Cam Beaubier did exactly what he did yesterday. Got a great start. Really a shame to see Cam Peterson have issues in this race, as he was a factor early in this race. As Josh Herrin did go up underneath Cam Peterson at this point in the race, as did SDK on that exact same lap. And from there, Cam just kind of started to go backwards a little bit. Herrin made this pass for the 2nd time on Cam Beaubier in turn 11, and he would just go on and lead the rest as Beaubier goes up under SDK. And it was just an example of just pure persistence on Herrin to not let these guys by. SDK took a shot at Beaubier for 2nd on the last lap, but it's all Josh Herrin today here in race 2.
Podium celebrations for Steel Commander Superbike. We'll be back.
As the podium celebrations continue for Steel Commander Superbike, we still have more racing here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Looking live now down at the grid for Mission King of the Baggers. If you were listening along with us in that lunchtime break, we had Kyle Wyman up here, Roger, and he's our pole sitter. He's our race winner from yesterday, and knowing that the target is now on his back, it's a place that he feels the most comfortable.
Yep, and he likes it. He wants to be the man. He wants to, be the guy with the pressure that everybody's chasing. And, like he said, he wants to. He lives for those moments, and he wants to be that guy. And right now, he's got the points lead back, and he's that guy. And he just can't make a mistake. Rocco Landers, though, really fast this morning in the warm-up, really consistent ever since the last race. He's made some huge steps on this bagger. You go back to the last race they were at Brainerd. He just looked like Rocco was riding it like he does the Twins Cup bike or the Super Sport bike, where he's confident and he's having fun and he's comfortable with, sliding the bike and just looked like we see Rocco now. And it just took him a minute to find the settings. You have to think. Totally different bike for Rocco, and now he's found his way.
Big, heavy bike. It's over 630 pounds are these Mission King of the Baggers. You see there on the front, ambitious young fella, that sticker that Terry Vance had put on there after what Troy Herfoss said at the podium after race number 1 back at Brainerd. And just so much respect that the competitors have for Rocco and the things that he's been able to do. Hugely successful in all of the classes he's been able to compete in here in MotoAmerica.
And just as young as he is, and you see Troy there. Troy needs after yesterday's crash, he's going to need to have a big race today and try to get some points back. And if he can, at least pick up a couple points. And he's talked about not feeling well this weekend and some other things going on as well. So not the perfect weekend for him. He's had some ups and downs, but he's got a race today to try to turn things around.
Also racing later on this afternoon in the Mission Super Hooligans category. You said it, hasn't felt his best, hasn't been quite to 100% so far this weekend, but 2 races remaining. And then we go into the long break, the summer break. And for Troy Herfoss, he has certainly been a welcome addition to the MotoAmerica paddock. I want to go back really quickly to Rocco Landers, just one point. He led the morning warm-up session this morning with a 128.2. Compare that to what he's done in the race yesterday. Yesterday finishing second was a 128.4, so even quicker than his race pace. But in qualifying, he was a 128.7. So Rocco, as this weekend has continued on, just continues to progress.
I think you see that with every session with Rocco. We talk so much about confidence. Being up there in the races and practice gives you that confidence.
Let's go ahead and send it back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore.
Look at the championship points. Josh Herrin now leads by 15 over Jake Gagne. Boy, that gap is small considering what's going on with Gagne heading off into the summer break. Bobby Fong right there at 23. Cam Peterson after his DNF, 27 points back in this championship, and Beaubier's crawling himself back into it. Well, that's Steel Commander Superbike. What a performance by Josh Herrin. We hope you enjoyed it. We can't wait to see you at Mid-Ohio next time.